Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation and accepting to share your journey as a supervisor.
You're very welcome.
Claire, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background as a coach to start with, and how did you decide to train as a coach, and where did your journey take you up to today?
Yeah, so it was back in 2016. I was coordinating some leadership essentials training, and I asked my director, if I'm coordinating these and I'm trying to get people onto these programs, can I go attend one so that I can really give it that genuine, this is a great program, this is why you should do it. And so he said, yeah, go and find one of the courses where there's a seat and take it. So I did. And it was a 3-day leadership essentials course. And on day 2, we stepped into coaching and we learned about active listening, powerful questioning, and then we learned the GROW model and we started doing some practice. And it was almost like a lightning bolt for me of, as soon as we started doing it, it was, this is what I want to do, which sounds very evangelical, but I think what I recognized was that actually what I've been coaching most of my life. I just never had a framework around it and never had something that said, yeah, this is what we call it. So from that day on, I went and did some NLP training. I went and did something called the 3 Principles with Sydney Banks. And then realized this was something I wanted to grow and grow. So I enrolled with a company in London and did my ICF ACC. I then took it further and went with a company out of the US, Awaken Coach Institute, and did my PCC with them. And so within my working environment, I also then started rolling coaching out to more people so that they could also get the benefit from it, and started building a coaching culture here, which started off with about 20 people. We've now got 135 professionally certified coaches that I work with every day. And hence, obviously, that then leads us into my supervision as well. But so I've done all my master's coaching training. So I'm now a certified master coach. I'm a 472 hours away from getting my master's credential with ICF as well. So it's ongoing.
What a journey, Claire. It's obvious you've been on such a journey, and it feels like coaching was such a good fit, a natural fit, right? It's straight away you felt it was your thing. And Claire, in terms of the of supervision, what triggered this desire to train as a supervisor, which you a little bit hinted to?
Yeah, hinted at a little bit because I work in a global organization. I'm the coaching lead here. And so I have, through the facilitation of coaching that I do and working with and building this coaching faculty that we have here, I saw lots of different styles of coaching. I heard people telling me, yeah, I'm a coach. And when I actually investigated, how did you become a coach? What have you been through? Oh, I did a module when I was at university. And they're suddenly calling themselves coaches. And also because I've been putting through people, because I work with global people who have done their training in South Africa, or they've done it in Germany, or they've been and done brain-based coaching. There was such a different way, but there was also quite a lot of what I would call boundaried coaching as well. So people talking to me as I was working with this faculty about, but I'm not allowed to give advice, or oh, but in my training we were told we could only do this. And so a couple of things out of that. One was to kind of educate people more about what coaching involves and the benefits of it, who were doing the coaching, but it was also about the professionalism of coaching as well. So making sure those people who were calling themselves coaches, did have the right background and were being professional, and really 3 functions: the normative function of they were doing it with ethics and standards, but also making sure those people who were growing their coaching skills were doing it from a professional point of view, but ensuring that they were maintaining themselves as coaches as well. So it was important to me that supervision was about the ethical practice, about people growing their coaching skills, but also making sure if they are coaches that they are coming out of the other side of their sessions with that real restorative ability, that they are not holding too much as they come out of coaching sessions as well. So the whole, again, the supervision side of things just fitted in with what I was doing.
And once you trained, Claire, did you feel like you were equipped to achieve what you wanted to achieve when deciding to train?
So having done my training through the various bits of coaching, I've had supervision throughout. So I think this is another strand as to why I wanted to become a supervisor, because I recognized that coming through my training, there were times where I had questions, and there were times where I got in a rut and realized that I was doing the same thing over and over that wasn't working, or it would work for some people and not for others. And so through the training that I had, I needed then to make sure that I had all the information about how would I become a supervisor, what would I need to do there, what are the skills that I need to be a supervisor as well, because I do, and this is where I love that when you go into supervision training, you do really need to be that PCC level, because you need to, or senior practitioner with EMCC, you need to have had the experience of being a coach to then be able to impart that and talk to people about their experience of being a coach as well. So I think, you need to have had quite a bit of experience, years and practice, to be able to step into a supervisor role.
And thank you for sharing that, Claire, because readiness to train as a supervisor is definitely a key part in something that both ICCS as well is looking for in candidates applying for the training. And Claire, you mentioned this responsibility that I feel you were taking for the coaches you were working with and the industry as a whole, in terms of being able to support the coaches, upholding some standards. How do you feel that the training equipped you to be able to do this work today?
The ICS training is it's very broad and it's very deep. So there's a lot of material there that gives you lots of different perspectives on coaching and supervising. So there was an awful lot of practical elements within there as well. So you could go and practice what felt good. There were strands where if you wanted to go and investigate something more, you could do. And that was actually part of the ICCS final certification, is that you get the opportunity to go and explore something further, and you get to write your paper on something that you found was of interest to you, that you wanted to go there and do that. So what I loved about the ICCS training is that you get the core of what you need to be a supervisor, but you get the opportunity to expand that. And certainly, as I say, the practical elements of this as well, you get to go and test it out in a really safe environment and come back and experiment with it a little bit, but then talk to other supervisors about it. And then, of course, the supervision of supervisors that is offered as well allows you to then go and be vulnerable and say, I did this today, I messed up. How did that work for you? And get from people who are even more experienced or have seen things from different perspectives. So you get a huge amount with the ICCS of allowing that skill to grow. But it's still growing for me. It is still growing, which again is great to have that support as well from ICCS.
And what were some of the most interesting, maybe, or challenging, or both, moments that you or aspects of your journey to becoming a supervisor?
Oh, Interesting, challenging. One of the challenges for me, I think, was the belief in myself that I'm not an academic. I'm so practical, hands-on. So am I going to be able to do this? So my initial challenge was my belief in the fact that I could do this. And it was a stretch for me, and it was a challenge for me, because you have this homework and there's a lot of reading, and then you've got to write this paper. But actually, and that was the challenge for me, how do I do this? But actually, the support that you get and the encouragement was the thing that actually I'm most proud of coming out the other side of it as well. I was so proud when I passed the course and I'd been able to write this paper, and I'd been able to do it with the knowledge that I had gained through the course. And as I say, I'm not academic. I didn't go to university. I didn't even get A levels. I went to theatre school and did acting. But the course is so well supported and so well structured that I was able to apply what I do know and my intelligence, my knowledge, and then be able to come out the other side of it and pass and become a credentialed supervisor. So both the challenge and the thing I was most proud of actually came in within the same thing.
Mm. I could hear it in in your passion for it, and the proudness. It really comes across. What would you say you loved most about, or still love, about supervision or supervising?
Very similar to coaching, I love being able to give people a space where they can investigate, which is non-judgmental, it's open. There is a vulnerability in there, but there is a level of trust that allows that vulnerability to come forward, which is where you do your greatest learning, and where you can ask those questions, knowing that somebody's there to kind of hold you and it's not going to be a topic of discussion elsewhere at some point. I think what I love about supervision is people getting those aha moments and people unlocking doors that they thought were closed. Like when people say, oh, but I'm not allowed to give advice. When we say then, okay, so what would be the benefit to your client if you did, with arms wrapped around it and no attachment, offer some sort of advice to somebody? What would be the benefit of that? And they suddenly get this realization that actually they can stretch their edges, but still do it within the ethics and the standards, and that they can allow themselves to reach those edges and go a little bit deeper and be vulnerable themselves within their coaching. So it really is about allowing people to expand their thinking and their learning and their growth as a coach, and knowing that they're doing it in the ethical way and keeping the professionalism of coaching. That's really important to me as well, is that we've not got mavericks going off and just, becoming mentors and counselors and stepping too far. It's giving people I think sometimes the permission to reach the edges of that coaching and just go test it out sometimes, knowing that they can come back and have another conversation if they need to as well. So yeah, that whole learning, that sharing of information, but seeing people grow, I think that's what I really love about this.
And who do you usually supervise?
I have a mix. So because I work in a global corporation and we've got this 135 people that I work with, a lot of them, well, the majority of those, they are internal coaches. And so they are coaching people within our profession. So that brings up things like, I'm working with somebody who is having a similar issue to me within their workspace. How do I deal with that? So there's a link to there of how do I deal with what's going on here. I also work with people outside of the company, and that's quite different because they're often working with, or they are professional coaches who are making a living out of this. My internal coaches are job plus. Externally, these are people who are doing it as a profession. So they come forward with some quite different challenges. And often it's about who they are as opposed to how they're coaching. So there's two different sides that I get with this as well. So I'm very fortunate that I can stretch my supervision capabilities with being able to work with different groups, and then also attending the supervision of supervisors sessions as well, means that I hear other people's versions of who they're supervising too. So there's a whole raft of different knowledge and wisdom and coaching styles out there. So I coach different people, but the majority of the internal coaches, yeah.
You mentioned so this variety of challenges that you're supporting clients with. How important do you think it is for you as a coach to would have experienced a variety of situations to be able now as a supervisor to support clients with different types of challenges?
Yeah, I think having had quite a bit of experience is important. However, one of the things I think that is part of the training, but also part of being a coach and being part of a supervisor, is having that very open, flexible attitude to what's going on. So it's not, this is my way, this is how I coach, this is how I do it, which could be very restrictive if you were then supervising in that way. I have learned so much as a coach since I started my supervision journey, because now what I'm having is coaches coming to me saying, and we're working together, and we will come up with something that says, aha, so is that something that you need to write into your contract from the start? And so I will take that away and say, do you know, I've now learned that from what you've now just experienced, that's something that I need to do as well. And one of the first supervisions I did was about somebody, they'd had a client who'd come forward who had said, no, I don't want to answer that question. And my coach had said it made them feel like they'd asked the wrong question, and they felt quite restricted by it. But through the supervision, what they then recognized was the client has the opportunity and the permission to say, I don't want to answer that question. And so what they then did, and actually what I now also do, is write into our initial contract that says, if there's ever a question that comes up or somewhere that you don't want to go at that point, that's absolutely fine. You say, I don't want to go there right now. That's not a question I want to answer. We shift, we go somewhere else. And that opened it up for the coach that said, okay, that's fine, because it means then it's not on me anymore. It's at the client's permission and their choice whether they answer a question that I ask or not. It may be a good jumping off point for a later session that says, can we come back round to that? But I've learned so much about my style as well by listening to other people's styles. So yeah, it's a great way to be able to do it.
We hear this a lot, that this experience, the journey that to becoming a supervisor really changes something in people as a coach and in their coaching. The coaching practices in being impacted. How else would you say that supervision impacted you as a person or you as a coach?
It opened up my perspective. I always thought that I was very flexible and easygoing. I think what it did, you know, I always say when I'm talking about supervision, I always split it into the two words, super and vision, because I'll say the vision is we're going to look at this, but the super part is we're going to go to the 10,000 foot view and look at it from a distance. I think what that's allowed me to do is actually not just go to the 10,000 foot view, it's kind of gone to the even bigger view and look at things much more globally, and actually turn things around. I think probably when you look at the 7I model and the I7, where you go, you know, round the edge, what is the system? What else is out there? I think that's the perspective that's really opened up for me, is that let's not just look at it from what's in front of us. Let's pick it up, turn it around, walk around it, open it up, close it, turn it, and actually let's go in and look at things from much more hypothetical views as well, of the, well, what ifs this is there or that's there. So I think for me, it really has, whether it's dialed up the perspectives, it's put shone the lights even brighter, but also allowed me to magnify things, but also to dive even deeper into things as well. So I think that's where really it's changed for me, is that new view of coaching in general.
And Claire, what does the future hold for you in terms of being a supervisor?
That's interesting. That was one of the questions we got asked when we were wrapping up our training, and somebody said, what does supervision hold? So of course you kind of go into your business plan and you say, I'm going to do this and this and this. And one of the questions, I think the next question was, what don't you want to happen with your supervision? And I immediately, it was almost a visceral thing that went through me that went, I never want this to stop. I want to be doing this. And even if I'm only supervising once a week for a group of 5 people, I don't ever want to stop being able to do this, because that feeling of that feeling that you get when you watch somebody have that aha moment, like you do in coaching, is amazing. But when you do it in supervision, you know that it's not just that the person that you're looking at in front of you, that who is a coach, you know that that's going to go back into their practice, and they're going to take what they just learned and what they just realized back into their practice, and it's going to help even more people. So I think the future for me is keep doing this, because there's such a pyramid happens that, people learn to listen and ask different questions, and they will take it back into their practice and change so many different worlds for people. So that's the future for me, is keep doing this.
Beautiful to hear it and to see it, Claire. I have one last question. And what would you tell a coach who's considering this path of training as a supervisor? What would you like to share with them?
I think it isn't just a case of just go do it. I think you do need to consider, how comfortable are you with doing this? Where are you currently in your coaching journey? What is the plan for this? Why are you doing this? I think that I would say to somebody, go and have a coaching conversation with somebody who's already a supervisor, and be coached on the topic of, I'm considering this, because then they can really get down and get that feeling as to, is this the right thing or not, and make decisions. I don't think supervision is for everybody. I think you do have to really consider, what is my limitation? What is my view of the world? What is my ability to flex and be open to other styles and other ways of doing this? But I would definitely say that go and speak to somebody who is a supervisor and just be coached by them, so they know the questions to ask and draw out, with a little bit of the 6 different, be a little bit of a catalyst and a little bit prescriptive in there as well. Go and read this book. Go and try this. The Helping in the the Helping Professions book that we read, I'd say go and read that and just work out, is that the feeling that you get when you want to work with somebody? So I'd say go and be coached on why you want to be a supervisor before stepping into it. But when you step into it, when you're ready, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
What a beautiful way of ending our interview. Thank you so much, Claire, for being here, for sharing so openly your journey. It was very insightful and we appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.